Are you ready for the beginning of the 2024 winter season across Lower Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio? Well, the time is 5:35 p.m. and it is November 19th. Welcome to another update of Great Lakes weather. Hopefully everybody is doing well today, and for you snow lovers out there, I have somewhat good news. It's likely we're going to see snow across portions of Lower Michigan, especially also in Indiana and Ohio, but it's not really going to be that much. Again, this is the first snow of the season. We still have warm ground temperatures, probably not going to accumulate and pile up as much as what the models are putting out there in terms of snow accumulation. We're going to kind of break it down, give you an idea of how much snow we'll see. It's not going to be too much. I don't think it'll be too impactful either, unless you live in like a really focused region that gets more snow. You might have a few impacts into road conditions, particularly with places with bridges and things like that. But we're going to break it down for you here. This website, let's start here. This website is the winter precipitation guidance from the Weather Prediction Center, okay? And this kind of just gives the probability of snow accumulating to a certain level. We're starting with 1 inch. This is the probability from the Weather Prediction Center that is showing the probability of something accumulating greater than 1 inch of snowfall. And you can see we do have those greens, those blues, those oranges that kind of sit on this map here. Basically, you can kind of see the scale right here. Anywhere that's shaded in green typically has a 10 to a 40% chance of snow accumulating greater than 1 inch based on what is being shown here. So again, chances of that occurring across much of Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, still looking pretty low. Looks like that focused area of higher accumulations is further to the south, and that has to do with the placement of the system. Again, this is a very strange system and a very hard to forecast system, given the fact that we have a low that's sort of wrapping and deepening and then also occluding as it makes its way over the Great Lakes region, which sends that warm, moist air further northeast into the low, and then the cooler air further southwest than where the lowest position is. So it's kind of an awkward situation where the snow is actually going to be focused further on the southern and southwestern portion of the system. So it's rather unique, but you can see that that focused area is across Indiana, southern Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. You can see those blues, those oranges. That is a probability of greater than 40, and in some places greater than 80% chance of snow accumulating greater than an inch. So enough to get those grassy surfaces, possibly with some snow. I really don't think the roads is going to stick to the roads super well. Ground temperatures are still relatively high, still running around 50 degrees, which again, that is definitely warmer than freezing point. Hence, we are not going to have much snow on the roads. But it is the first snow of the season, and it is going to be accompanied by some strong winds with the storm. So I would say there will be some visibility reductions, particularly in the places where those lake effect snow bands set up. There is lake effect snow expected with this system as it makes its way through. We're going to have that cool air that's wrapping in, and as you get that 23-degree temperature difference across portions of Lake Michigan, that's where you start to see a more favorable setup for lake effect snow. So that's likely going to be on the table with this as well, in addition to the system snow that will be wrapping in from the north and dropping to the south and kind of getting heavier as it approaches portions of Indiana and Ohio. You can see much of Indiana and Ohio actually has a shot at seeing snow. How much? Again, probably maybe 1 to 3 inches. I would not say we're going to get much higher than that. I would say the more focused area of higher snow totals is actually going to be maybe across where the lake effect snow band set up across southwest Lower Michigan in these regions. Again, the models are still very variable. It's the first system of the season. It's not really a for sure setup for snow still. There's still some uncertainties, but it looks like we're going to be just at freezing point, and with being just at freezing point, we're going to have that potential for snow. And in the upper levels of the atmosphere, it'll actually get cooler as that system makes its way down, which will enable snow crystals to form in the higher levels of the atmosphere. So we're going to break it down. Let's go to the greater than 4-inch level. You can see the chances go significantly down. It's only like a no greater than 20% chance snow accumulates greater than 20% from this graphic. So again, chances of exceeding 3 inches are very low, pretty much across all of Michigan and Indiana. Ohio, you might get a little bit of potential for maybe some heavier snow. I don't think it's really going to be that impactful if you do get the snow. You can see in West Virginia is going to be dealing with some bit heavier snow. They have a higher probability. Again, you're in the mountain regions. It's more likely you're going to start to see that snow as you get into the mountain ranges. So again, that's on the table down there, but it's really not looking like too impactful of a system. But the first snow of the season, everyone gets pretty excited. And I mean, I'm excited, not going to lie. It's nice to have some of that winter precipitation. It's better than the active severe weather season we've had over the past year. It's not as impactful. So let's go to the models, get an idea of what's going to happen here. So this is the latest GFS model, kind of gives you an idea. Okay, you got that warm air mass that's still settling in. You can really see that cool air mass already starting to filter in. You can see those blue lines again. Watching those blue lines, that indicates the ridges and troughs that are building. You got a trough that's going to be coming in from the back of the atmosphere. We're going to have some rain, probably tomorrow morning. And in addition to that, there will be some wind accompanying with that. You're probably going to have some windy weather Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You're going to have some pretty nice waves on Lake Michigan. I'm looking at going and intercepting those waves on Thursday. Wednesday, you also have some good waves on the lake shore, but not as much snow, which, again, it's different vibe when there's snow with it. So you can see that low kind of follows along with this gap between the ridges and troughs. That's typical for a normal low. What's going to happen here is that you notice that it's going to start to sort of deepen as it goes up into Ontario region. And what's actually going to happen is it's going to wrap around back further to the south. Okay, you see the trough starting to dig deeper into the Great Lakes region, and you can see that 528 line that kind of sits in place. One thing we typically watch for the potential for snow is this 540 line, this 540 upper level isobar that kind of sits in place. That's typically the spot we watch for any potential for snow to occur. And you can see there's not really much snow occurring as of yet, but once we start to see that surge of cold air start to come on the backside, you see that the snow starts to really take shape as this low begins to deepen. So there is snow that begins to kind of transition from rain to snow. It's going to be a wet snow. So if it does tend to stick to some places, it could be impactful on the roadways. I do remember back in October of last year when we chased a setups with some early season snow and some warm ground temperatures, we still did end up getting some snow sticking, and it was heavy, wet, and slushy because of the warm water temperatures, warm ground temperatures, which made it rather still a little slick if the snowfall rates get high enough. Will they get high enough here? We'll see what happens. But again, maybe just take it easy, take a little easy on the roads just in case that does tend to take place. But you can really see as this low continues to get deeper and deeper and start to wrap around, you can start to see that the snow gets heavier on the southern end of it, where that cold air mass is really starting to settle in across the Great Lakes region. And then as it gets down further to the south, it still continues to deepen. You can see those tight isobars and associated with this low. That's what's going to bring us our strong winds across the Lake Michigan on Thursday. Now I'm also expecting wind on Wednesday, but Thursday's that day I'm targeting for the potential for snow as well as the potential for some high wave action on the lake shore around, I'd say roughly, you could get up to 15 feet with those waves out there. So it's going to be something to watch out for. But you can see that low continues to wrap its way around. As it does, it's going to progress further south too, and also bring that snow further to the south in areas such as Ohio, Indiana, those different places. And then you'll start to see that snow begin to kind of make its way back into portions of West Virginia on Friday. And then on the backside, we still are dealing with kind of that cooler air, but it's going to continue to warm up back into the 40s and maybe even get back to the 50s. You can see that there's kind of a pattern coming through here where we start to see more systems start to make their way through. So we're going to watch this carefully as I'm starting to see a pattern for some good systems, and this looks like a very cold air mass that's being shown on the longer range models for November 29th, which again, we're getting into the long range, so we don't want to really speculate about that just yet. So, but it's showing cooler temperatures by the time we get towards close to the December time frame. So, still a lot to trim out here. Let's look at the Euro. Again, model variabilities are a big deal with regards to these setups. So, some models are shifting it further west. The GFS is actually shifting it further east. It's playing an eastward option, whereas the Euro and other models are shifting it further to the west. So this one actually puts the brunt of the snow right over the lake, with lakeshore areas being affected by the snow as well. And that continues to make its way around, following a very similar pattern, just a little further to the west. RDPS is also doing a similar thing, where you can see, let's go where that begins to initially move through. You got that wrapping motion of the low, and you got that lake effect snow on the backside, and it shifts it a little bit further to the east as well, with the snow primarily impacting southwest Michigan, northern Indiana, and portions of Ohio, just like it was being shown earlier. So that's what's being shown on the RDPS. HRRR, our close range model, also playing it to the west. I think it'll probably shift a little bit further to the east by the time we get to this event. But you can see that lake effect snow will begin to initiate as we get that colder air mass quickly coming through over Lake Michigan. And then as that comes through, you will start to see that wrapping motion. And it looks like the rain is primarily going to be the primary form of precipitation over the lake, but then as we get closer to where the ground level is, you can start to see it transition to snow, probably due to the warmer lake temperatures at this time, since the lake is at the warmest level it's been in quite a while. So that's something to consider with this setup too, that you might see mostly rain on the lakeshore because of that, and more inland areas will start to see more snow. And some heavy pockets of snow could reduce visibility at times, so definitely take it easy when you're driving through a pocket of snow. I want you to look at this sounding right here. Okay, this is a SKU-T chart showing kind of what the temperatures are going to be doing in this portion of the atmosphere. This is from the HER model. Okay, you can see that the temperatures are going to be at 32 degrees at the surface. This is 32 degrees at the surface, and they're also going to be at 32 degrees at the with terms to the dew point, which means the air that this low is working with is going to be heavily saturated. Pretty much almost, it's going to be very heavily saturated. And with that saturation, that's when you can start to see the heavier pockets of snow begin to sort of develop in this environment. And you can see that that green line and that red line, looks like Christmas, green line and red line are attached right next to each other. That's indicating a streamline of some pretty saturated air from the surface level all the way up to 3,000 feet. Now there's a little bit of interference with this SKU-T chart, but still, you can keep that in mind. Your dendritic growth zone is between 7,000 and 9,000 feet, which again, it's going to be cooler up in that area, which means the ice crystals will be affected by that as well. But you can see that the pattern kind of is taking shape for some snow to come off the lake and maybe cause a few impacts to visibility and things like that. But the HER is not loaded out far enough for us to make determinations on how this will progress later on, but it's just something to keep in mind as we go further. Now let's take a look at snow totals. I know that's kind of the question. Again, all over the place. You've got a lot of different places. And again, what we're looking at here with this model output is snow depth, not in particular the total snowfall. Okay, the total snowfall that will come from up in the atmosphere versus what sticks to the ground. Because again, ground temperatures are close to 50 degrees at this time, so you won't really see as much in terms of snow that sticks. It will stick better to grassy surfaces than roads, and in fact, if it's a busy street, I don't really expect there to be much in terms of sticking, because again, it's going to cause it to melt a little bit faster with cars driving on it. But you can see that the Euro model is actually putting out a heavier pocket of snow across portions of southwestern Michigan. Area I plan to target on Thursday once this starts to evolve, but you can also see that there's places closer to the lake where they get that little bit of that lake enhancement. You see those pockets of depth change with regards to the snow that falls. So you can see that it gets a little more widespread than GDPS. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I don't really think it's going to be too much across the entire region, but you can see that these models over here, the NAM and the Icon, don't really put out much snow at all unless you're in southern Michigan, northern Indiana, and southwest Ohio. And the focus of the snow comes with the GFS and the Euro, which the Euro does tend to do better with these setups. Again, it could stretch it a little bit, saying 4 inches, but still, I think it's going to be enough snow for you to enjoy the sight of the snow as it begins to fall, which everybody loves that, maybe. So, big thing here is also the wind. You have this is 10 meters above ground level. You can see around, I'd say 4 or 5 p.m. You start to see a batch of, I would say, stronger winds make its way over the lake. Wind gusts up to 50 miles an hour based on what the model outputs are showing, the RDPS model showing, and other models are really following suit with this too. But that's what's going to trigger your higher wave action on the lakeshore, which again, if you live on the lakeshore, you're going to want to keep this in mind. Could cause some beach erosion. Could just keep that in mind as it makes its way in. So we may try and target this area at some point. So looking out further into the little bit of the longer range, again, we already kind of just did, but as we go through, we do have those systems that are showing up on the GFS model, which again, this is just one model. We'll have to wait to see how else these situations evolve, but you have Tuesday showing some potential for some rain of next week. I think Thanksgiving you could have a little bit of rain prior to Thanksgiving's beginning, and then we're watching another system that looks to kind of drop a little bit further to the south of us, which may clip us with some snow around Thanksgiving time frame. So we're just going to watch it, see how things change, how things evolve. There's going to be a lot of things that change up to that point. I'm pretty confident we'll see at least a little bit of snow across Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio on Thursday. And we'll be chasing maybe all day. We'll see what happens, but just keep that in mind. Make sure to subscribe, and you'll be able to join us on our chase on Thursday. We will be out across Southwest Michigan, checking in on the roads, which, again, do I think they'll be too bad? Not really. But really the big thing is seeing that high wave action and also seeing the first snow of the season across here portions of lower Michigan. So thanks for watching, everybody. This is kind of a longer update, but hopefully it was helpful to you all. Make sure to subscribe. Thanks for the support. See you all later.